I always say that if a guest asks us to do something and we do it for them, that's the sort of easy way of delivering luxury service. The harder way is figuring out what the guest wants before they've ever even had the need to ask and making it magically appear.
Totally.
So, it's the ambassador team knowing that you are playing golf tomorrow morning. And so your turn down amenity tonight will be a sleeve of logoed golf balls and a golf towel as opposed to something else. If you're going to the spa tomorrow, it's just sort of saying, we know what you're doing tomorrow, and we've added an amenity to curate your stay. That's when you really have gotten it right.
Welcome to the Luxury Travel Innovators podcast. I'm your host, Adam Deflorian, founder and CEO of ACDS. Let's take off. Today I'm joined by Daniel Hostettler, President and CEO of the Boca Raton. Daniel, it's wonderful to have you here on Luxury Travel Innovators.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
We don't have a bad view for this recording.
No, we don't.
It's definitely looking out and seeing. So is there a sandbar? Is that in the intracoastal here?
There is, right in the middle. It's about 3.5 feet deep. So you can see that they're actually standing in it.
That's what I'm looking at for our listeners that obviously can't see out the windows at what we're looking at. We're right here on the intracoastal, and all the slips are full with beautiful yachts, and we see people walking in that sandbar, look like they're having a wonderful time.
Absolutely.
So for context, just to set this up, the property is divided here. So can you explain a little bit about how the property is set up?
Yes, we're on just under 300 acres. So the bulk of the property is on is here on the intercoastal, which you are looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And then a short boat ride across the intercoastal. We have a 15-acre property, which is one of our 5 hotels, which is the Beach Club. And then there is a water taxi that goes back and forth every 15 minutes. So it's a 4-minute trip, much nicer than driving over there for lunch or to go to the beach, is to just hop on one of the little boats that are going in both directions.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
That's lovely. And how many keys are in the beach club?
224.
Okay.
And 957 altogether between the 5 lodging products that span our entire campus.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about the history. I'm so curious to learn more for our listeners about, the Boca Raton, both the club side as well as the hotel, and really, what it's set to be.
Sure. Well, hotel started in 1926. So Addison Meisner, fresh off of all of the work he did building mansions in Palm Beach, decided to become more than an architect. He wanted to be a developer. So he came here to Boca Raton. The idea was to develop the entire city. So the city grew up around the hotel.
Okay.
But like other cities that did that, Beverly Hills around the Beverly Hills Hotel, is always a good analogy. You needed a lodging product first to sort of house people and then convince them to buy a lot or build a home here. And so originally there was the Ritz-Carlton Cloister Inn, and it was supposed to be followed by larger hotels. Addison Meisner went bankrupt about 3 years in, and one of his co-investors took over the hotel. And that began a long succession of owners holding it for a while, selling it to the next person, adding on to it. Property grew over time, most significantly in the 70s under Arvida, which was the development portion of Disney, which added the towers, and IBM came to town, and so the bungalows were built to house executives when they were visiting. And so over time, it evolved to what it is today, which is 5 different properties, each with its own different market: 18-hole golf course, 14 tennis courts, 12 pickleball courts, the beach club, the 50,000 square foot spa, you name it, we have all the amenities. And the business model prior to our ownership was really running it as a 1,000-room Waldorf Astoria hotel, primarily for conferences. And our business model when we bought it in late 2019 was to really reposition it as a luxury hotel, which meant that the business mix needed to shift from sort of 80-20 group to leisure to 50-50. We needed a whole lot more amenities for leisure. So we knocked down the convention center and built a 4-acre pool club, which has 3 different swimming pools and a half a mile of lazy river and 2 water slides and 2 restaurants to give more for the leisure traveler. And then operating on a theory that I don't believe people go to a luxury hotel that has 1,000 keys. So how are we repositioning that? And so we sort of looked at the 5 different lodging products and said each one would have its own market. So we are sitting in Flybridge, which is the dinner restaurant of the yacht club. There are 110 rooms in this building. They're all suites. They're all front loaded. So they look at the intercoastal. There's a butler on every floor. There's no children allowed in this building. So this is our adults oriented. The beach club, which we finished a renovation on last year, is sort of I call it our Miami Light model. It's the young, hip, cool property. The tower, when we renovated it 3 years ago, is all connecting rooms for families. So each corner is a 1-bedroom suite, which connects to 2 more rooms to create a 3-bedroom family complex, and it adjoins the Harborside Pool Club.
Oh, wow.
And the bungalows are all 2-bedroom villas with full kitchens, etc., that are on our golf course, and they are designed for longer stays, 4 to 7 night minimum, depending on time of year. And we have probably at any given time, 30% of them are sold on a 4 to 6 month stay.
Oh, wow.
And then the Cloister, which is about to go under renovation in the next couple of weeks, are the original 350 rooms that the bulk of which are used for convention and meeting business, but also really appeal to the historians that want to be in the original Meisner. So we are about $400 million in renovation on a $550 million renovation budget. So that last $150 million is doing the Cloister, redoing our golf course, and redoing the Meisner Center, which is our conference center.
Got it. And you are about to kick off those projects?
Yes,
with that
now.
Now.
Golf course started right after Easter, should be done by Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Meisner Center starts the 1st of June to be done by Christmas. The Cloister rooms and the Meisner Center is being done during 2 months over the summertime, which is our quietest group time. So all will be done by the holidays of this year. And then we are adding a 30,000 square foot fitness facility, 3 stories tall. That one's going to take a little longer. That starts this summer and finishes high season next year. So
where will that one be?
Just on the edge of the golf course. So we're setting the foundations while we do the renovation of the golf course.
Got it. So in regards to this strategy, right, where you have something for everyone, right?
Yes.
That's the idea. And then it doesn't feel like you have this everybody in the same place because everybody's looking for different needs, right? So
correct.
Families versus maybe couples coming on a romantic anniversary or a honeymoon or something like that. The yacht club could be perfect for you.
Correct. And hopefully the team in those buildings knows you. It's smaller. Cloister at 300 rooms is the largest property. The rest are in the 100 to 200 rooms. So you have the ability to get that curated high touch that you would get in a smaller luxury property, but you have the beauty of the run of the club. Essentially, the amenities all fall under our club component. We have several thousand families that live locally that utilize the country club component, which are all those amenities we talked about. And as a hotel guest, you are a club member for your period of time that you're visiting.
And nobody outside of club members or hotel guests can leverage any of the amenities, including the restaurants.
Correct. The property is closed. You have to get through gates to get in. Adds a layer of safety that our guests really enjoy and exclusivity as well.
Now, if there's, events, does the club have events that are also exclusive to members, or can hotel guests, if you're here over a holiday and they're throwing an event, you can?
It's a variety. We have exclusive member events throughout the course of the year. We have shared events like the holidays and 4th of July, where it is sort of half members, half hotel guests. And then we have exclusive hospitality events as well.
Awesome. Now, you talked a little bit about personalized luxury and how you create luxury that, when I come in, if I have a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, that you know that, right? And therefore I'm being treated as such.
Correct. I would totally agree with that sentiment. I think in the old days, we, the hotelier, told you what luxury was supposed to feel like, how many thread counts on the sheets,
Right.
etc., how much the silverware weighed, and that it was solid silver. And I think now you, the guest, are telling us what luxury means to you, and it's our job to interpret that, because everyone is staying for different reasons. And even the same guests might be staying with their children at one point, which is different than when they're just coming with their partner.
100%. So tell us a little bit about your personal background. I'd love to hear sort of your start in hospitality. I find it to be the best industry in the world. I've been in it 25 years. So I love it. I'd never do anything else.
It is great. My father was a CEO, and so we traveled all over the world for
Okay.
business. So I think the travel bug bit me young, and then ended up in hotel school and started very large at the Century Plaza, which is now a Fairmont hotel. 1,000+ rooms for a year of training. And then I went progressively smaller during the course of my career. I opened the Peninsula in Beverly Hills under the legendary Ali Kasiki, that many of us in luxury learned the hotel business from. That was a 296 room property. And then I went up to Meadowood in the Napa Valley, which was a 100-room Relais and Chateau property, which is my first exposure to Relais and Chateau. And then my first GM role was in England, in the outskirts of London and Dorset at a Relais and Chateau property, and then back over to the US. I was in the Big Bend National Park for a while, which is America's third least visited national park. You really needed to want to go to far west Texas, but it was a phenomenal experience. And then to a very small collection of Relais and Chateau properties in New England. And then got the call to come here. And I was like, are you sure? I run small Uber luxury, $2,500 a night rate properties. I don't do 1,000 rooms. And it took some convincing for me to even come down and do the interview. My boss was telling the story the other day that I said no 3 times. And it's like, I'm not your big box kind of guy. And he finally said, we want you to do what you have done up there with your 5 hotels, is curate these individually to that level of guest. And I thought to myself, it's never been done. Nobody at 1,000 rooms is doing that level of curated luxury. And I love when someone tells me it can't be done. It's never been done. That's like my thing. And here we are. 4.5 years later, and we've just been awarded 4 individual 5 stars from Forbes. There are 7 hotels in the world with quadruple 5 stars, and the other 6 are all in Asia. Whereas we know you can throw a ton of labor at it. And we are the only one in the Americas. So I think the business model for us has worked very, very well.
That's fantastic. I'm going to see Herman Elger quite soon. So tell him went to only one of 7 in the world.
There you go.
Quadruple 5 star. Tell us a little bit about the, so there's, I'm sure, a wellness component, spa here as well.
There is 50,000 square feet, 44 treatment rooms.
Wow, that's substantial.
So it is substantial. And then this fitness center that we're building, 30,000 square feet, will be the other half of that wellness component. Up until now, we've had your sort of typical small workout facility, and this is really our opportunity to build that side of it. I think we have it on the spa side of it. And we also have a Medi Spa as well, because that's the longevity portion is becoming more and more important to our customers. Just this week, we unveiled robot massage, and the red light table system is coming right behind it. So we are constantly it's another area, I think, in luxury that that whole wellness and longevity and fitness is becoming very important to the luxury traveler, that it was more of a check the box amenity, a decade ago.
Totally agree. And I think that, you see it, right? Not just generationally, where people are being healthier, they're consuming less alcohol, they're focused on their health and well-being. And I think that it's so critical, that especially in the luxury side of things, right? That hotels adapt to that,
Yes.
and be able to support what people are looking for on that front.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where is the spa on the campus here?
It's sort of dead center. When you go back down into the historic cloister, there is a connection to the spa building. It's a standalone building, has its own small swimming pool in the back and a spa cafe. So you really can spend the entire day. It is a destination spa, which is fantastic. And then years ago added the biostation portion, which is the Medi Spa, and then the fitness center will just be a walk across the street from that. So it's sort of core center of the resort.
And you have I saw the Moki up front. You have
Yes.
like a golf cart that can take guests.
We do, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, it's fantastic in case they don't want to have to walk, or if
Yes,
it's dumping
that's
rain.
right.
Okay, fantastic. So now, what's the average length of stay, and does it vary by property, or would you say it's pretty consistent?
It's fairly consistent in the 4 luxury properties at 2 to 3 nights stay. In the bungalows, which is the long stay property, it is 4 in the summertime and a minimum of 7 in the wintertime. But the actual that's our minimums. The actual stay is about 30 days in the bungalow. So it's got its own little cottage following of snowbirds that don't want to own down here, but they do want to be down here for 2 or 3 months. So it's a great alternative because it's sort of condo hotel with all the services. They have their own swimming pool. They're behind a second set of gates.
Oh, wow.
So they are very residential in feel. It's one of my favorite lodging components here on the property.
And I would assume the nice part of it too, right, is they immediately have access to the club. So that's another
you
huge
essentially
perk.
are a club member for the 3 or 4 months you're living here. Absolutely.
That's great.
Next best thing is the yachts here down below us, where you are also a club member. If you've got one of your 100, 200 foot yachts floating there and you're living on there, you can use all the facilities of the property as well.
And I heard that there's quite a long wait list to get
There is quite a long wait list.
Yeah.
Yes.
How about multi-generational travel? It's such a big trend, right?
It is.
Travel, and this property seems like it would be very conducive to it. So I'd love to hear.
Yeah, it's interesting. My last property had a cottage collection, which catered to multi-generational, lots of houses, right? Here, the lodging product caters to multi-generational because I cannot tell you how often we get grandma and grandpa here in the adults only building, and mom and dad and the grandkids are in the tower next door, so that you can be multi-generational by day and then send your family home because it's usually grandma and grandpa paying the bill. But we are seeing a tremendous amount of that generational travel together. And that's where this sort of a building for everyone complex comes in really well for us.
That's great. Yeah. And then there is an adults only pool here as well, right?
The yacht club has access to the spa pool, which is adults
only as well.
Yeah.
So
and then the main pool campus also has what we call a quiet pool, which is adults only. So no matter which building you're in, the children shouldn't be in that pool.
Yeah. Got it. Out of curiosity, based on multi-gen travel, it leads me well into the travel advisor community, which is quite a few of our listeners here at Luxury Travel Innovators. So I'd love to hear sort of what how important travel advisors are for the property, and what types of, what percentage of business they're booking here, and what you do for them.
They're about 30% of our business. So they're a good chunk. Not as much as my last property where they were about 40% of our business. But I think that the higher you get up on the net worth food chain, the more travel advisors play a very important role, especially in the suite product. That end of the market, the CEOs, et cetera, don't necessarily have time to do the research on their own. They're relying on their travel professionals. The suite component traveler is really relying on the travel professionals here because of the complexity of the resort and all of the different options in the different buildings and where you stay. I think they're relying on the travel professional to help curate from the very beginning, which hotel building should I be in. So we do a lot of work with them.
Amazing. And would you say that if a travel advisor is contacting you that has not booked this property before, that you have a team that's able to help them understand?
Yes, we have 4 people on the leisure sales team. Actually, a 5th one we've just added this year that will curate specifically the suite component and the grand signature suite component. And the other ones, that is their entire job, is to liaison with the travel industry and educate. And if you have not been to the property, advise on what might be right for your client.
Great. How do you think, for those travel advisors, you mentioned, the quadruple Forbes 5-star rating, which is very impressive. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So why do you think you were capable of doing that? Like, what do you guys do differently that you think, whether it's human development or training? I like to say development more than training, but how did you achieve that?
Yeah, I think all of the above. I think it starts with our vision from day one was to be ultimately a 25-star property. We said 25 for 25 when we opened the property in 2020. So we're 1 star short. We do have a 4-star property, and we're going to get it to 5 this year. So I think it set the vision, but then being an independent property without a brand, we really looked to Forbes as the corporate minimum service standard, right? We took their 600 standards and we said, these are the company's brand standards, because we don't have a Four Seasons standard or a Mandarin Oriental standard. We've got Forbes. And so every area of the hotel, when we were designing the lodging components and the SOPs to train the staff, et cetera, were built around the Forbes service standards. And then I think we live them, we work closely with Forbes to do ongoing training. I'm a big believer that you have to enforce the standards behind in the back of the house as well as the front of the house. If we're not making eye contact and saying good morning and good afternoon to each other in the back of the house, we're certainly not going to expect the team to do it in the front of the house. That wasn't happening when I first came to this property. So it's a lot of culture building and pride. I am the first to say I didn't earn the quadruple 5 stars. I maybe set the goal and the vision, but it's the team on the ground that is coming into contact with the guest every single day that are delivering the standards. And it's really inspiring them to be as good when we're not on the floor watching as they are when we are on the floor watching, right? They have to want to do it, because it's hard to work in a 5-star hotel. It's just as easy to work in a 3-star hotel at the front desk or in the coffee shop than it is at the front desk or in one of our fine dining restaurants here. Similar money, et cetera. We're asking you to do less whole lot more and less pressure. And so a lot of that is, how are we giving back in terms of our promotion from within standards and our new foundation for charitable giving, which the employees are all part of. It's what can we bring to you besides a paycheck that is the payback for the work we're asking you to do.
And how is the hiring here? I mean, is it challenging, or do you have a pretty good, do you have pretty good access based on your neighboring towns?
We do have good access. It's interesting. It has not been hard for us. Okay. Everyone in our industry talks about the challenge of hiring, especially after COVID. I think that for us, that was one of the lesser challenges we faced post-COVID and reopening the hotel. I think that, again, when you have a clear vision of what you want to be and you've got everyone rowing in the same direction, people either want to be part of that or they don't. I think it's when you don't necessarily have a clear vision that people take a job somewhere where they think it's going to be something and then it's not. I'm a big believer that the interview process has to be twofold as well. Well, we're fairly direct in terms of what the expectation is, and we're going to tell you how to wear your hair and how big the earrings can be and the color of your fingernails, and you either buy into that vision or you don't.
And one thing that I would think also contributes to the ease of hiring, so to speak, right, is, of course, everything you're doing to make this a fabulous place to work, but also, right, the way that Florida treated COVID and then the reopening post-COVID, the relocation of so many people from the Eastern Seaboard to South Florida. And so the volume of, just human growth here is so immense.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
And would you say that you've seen, like as far as the business is concerned, just really exceptional growth, of course, post-COVID, but even just continued growth in the last couple of years here in terms of demand, and far more than you had been seeing.
Absolutely. It's such a business-friendly state as well that what we've seen is guests are coming down for a vacation from the East Coast and then they just fall in love with it and and figure out how to move. Nowadays, so many people can work from anywhere,
Yeah.
right? And so that's made the ability to transfer much easier as well.
Totally. And I would also think with the just growth in businesses relocating here in full, like Citadel, et cetera. I mean, just the massive growth in Miami area,
Yeah.
greater Miami area,
Right.
is also going to lead to just tremendous more business for you.
Absolutely.
Um,
We hope so anyway.
you, well, to be determined, but I hope it will. What does exceptional hospitality mean to you on a personal level?
I think we talked about this earlier, curated and really knowing the guest and digging into why they want to be here and making it an exceptional visit for them. I also think anticipatory. I always say that if a guest asks us to do something and we do it for them, that's the sort of easy way of delivering luxury service. The harder way is figuring out what the guest wants before they've ever even had the need to ask and making it magically appear. So, it's the ambassador team knowing that you are playing golf tomorrow morning. And so your turn down amenity tonight will be a sleeve of logoed golf balls and a golf towel as opposed to something else. If you're going to the spa tomorrow, it's just sort of saying, we know what you're doing tomorrow, and we've added an amenity to curate your stay. That's when you really have gotten it right.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there's a couple components that I've always heard and I observe, right? So one example of that too, turn down is a great example, right? Where usually there's a bottle of water by each bedside, right? But if you notice that a lot of water, if the housekeeping team, the eyes on the ground, right, have seen that you're consuming more water shows up the next evening.
Fill the refrigerator with water. Absolutely.
Little things like that, but they're very meaningful. They're very personalized, you know? So I totally agree. Now, in regards to beyond RevPAR, what other performance metrics would you say that you matter most here in terms of not just guest satisfaction and RevPAR? I think those two are key. What else are you looking at?
Well, I think RevPAR is obviously important. NPS scores, the guest satisfaction for us, are the most important driver. I would say employee satisfaction every year is one of our huge drivers because, again, we're a big believer that if we take care of the team, they are going to take care of the guest, and the guest is going to flow to the RevPAR. So huge believer that it's our job to keep the team happy.
Totally. Speaking of that, I'm sure you're a mentor to many folks here who have been your mentors over the years.
Well, Ali Kasiki comes to mind, legendary managing director of the Peninsula in Beverly Hills, was certainly my primary mentor, I would say.
Okay.
I've had some owners along the way that have been mentors at Meadowood. Bill Harlan Estate was always hyper focused. He came up through marketing. And so he was always hyper focused on the brand and every element of the brand. And interesting, he was not a hotelier, but what he taught me was, I remember I was a food and beverage director in those days and looking at Starbucks, which was the hot new product. And he sort of was at a presentation and he said, is that really on brand? These guys sell coffee all over the country. Why would we not go to a small roaster from the Napa Valley so that the guests get something local? So I think he knew sense of place before that term existed. And I think he taught me that everything is a part of the brand, from the uniform to the coffee you serve to every element of the guest stay is either detracting from the brand or adding to the strength of the brand. So definitely Bill was crazy about that focus and he ingrained that in me.
That's wonderful. It's funny too, because if you look at Napa Valley and the greater Sonoma and Napa area today, right, it's not doing that well.
No.
But Meadowood actually is.
Yes.
And I would say I don't know if it's just he's total visionary, which he is. But if you look at that website and you look at the brand feeling of Meadowood from the very beginning, right, it's family oriented. It reminds me a lot of our partner, Glen Eagles, right? The estate feel, this big playground with so many things to do, nature and wilderness. It goes far beyond just fine wine. which is funny because the primary business is Harlan Estate.
Right.
It's wine.
Right.
But yet it's the only property that when you go to the website, you're not just immediately focused on either walking through vineyards or people pouring
No,
wine.
you're focused on the food and beverage element and the croquet lawns and the golf
Exactly.
course and all of the elements on the property that there are to do.
It's so smart because that's why they're still thriving, while others, especially with the generations that are drinking less wine, are not. It was from years ago that it's been like that, which is really impressive. When guests depart the Boca Raton, what lasting feeling or memory do you hope they carry with them?
I hope they remember the staff, because then we've done our jobs right on a property of this size. When we're trying to curate small experiences, if they remember a particular server in a restaurant, or the front desk agent who took care of them, or the butler who took care of them, and they remember that person's name and how that person made them feel, then we've done exactly what we've wanted to do in terms of curating the moment, because we've built that relationship and we know they'll be back, because they want to be treated in that individual way in which they're amongst friends and they've gotten to know the team.
Totally.
So I think that's it.
And I would assume that your guest retention, like, you have a pretty decent repeat guest
We
ratio.
do.
I would figure.
And growing all the time.
Uh-huh.
We've only been open for 4 years since we bought it and renovated it. But yes, it grows every year.
That's great. Yeah, I always, when I travel with my children, right, it's always that, like, the memories that they bring back of the person, right? So, they were on the beach and somebody told them, bring some chips in your pocket because you'll get all the fish to swim up to you.
Right.
And that person, right, is the story.
It's the memory.
It's the memory. They go back to school and they're telling their teachers and their friends about this individual, this person that helped them. And I think it's just so, that's what makes travel and hospitality so special.
Yeah, and I think that when you take the time to then fill out the comment card and name that person that your children loved, and then we celebrate that person for doing that portion of their job, that's part of that full circle curation of the property's culture, that we celebrate those moments that not every hotel does, right?
Totally.
That for us, those are moments to be called out as an example of great service and the way we want to treat the guests.
100%. Daniel, it's been such a pleasure having you on the podcast.
Thank you.
I always finish with 3 rapid fire questions.
All right.
They should be pretty easy. So let's see where it goes. What personal travel are you most excited about next?
I am renting a villa in Nevis this summer,
Oh.
and I have never been to Nevis. It's on the bucket list, so I think that'll be great for my family and I.
Sounds great. The show is all about innovation and moving forward, but because the past shapes the future, I always like to step back for a minute. What do you miss about the glamorous days of travel?
Oh, definitely the elegance. I think, the current generation doesn't always like to dress up and wear a jacket and look nice when they're flying or eating in the dining room. People are coming in shorts, etc. I think I miss the heyday where you dressed up when you came to resorts like this, or you flew on an airplane. Those days are sadly gone.
Now, you might be a little bit more elevated here than South Beach, though, right?
Well, I hope so. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. And last is future. What innovation in travel doesn't exist today that you think should, and it does not have to be technology?
I think AI is going to have a significant future in travel. I'm not exactly sure how yet.
That's my job, I guess, to figure out.
Yeah, exactly. I hope that for us here, like we use all other technology, that it becomes behind the scenes and lets the team spend more time with the guest, as opposed to being the replacement for the team member. But it definitely is in our future.
I totally agree. And I think especially in this high touch, ultra luxury hospitality setting,
Absolutely.
It'll empower you to be able to know your guests better, personalize the experience for your guests. But at the same time, it'll allow your team members to have more time so that they can actually focus on creating those memorable moments.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching this episode of Luxury Travel Innovators. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. See you next time.